Hey everybody, hope we're all doing amazingly and having a brilliant week so far. Today I want to talk about nutrition, specifically as it relates to fueling results and whether it needs to be this archetypal, boring structure that we so often fall into the trap of believing, or so many people fall into the trap of believing. I think traditionally there's this association between effective nutrition also being uninspired nutrition. Or perhaps there's this belief that one can't exist in the presence of the other. Either food is incredibly functional, but not great tasting, or it's amazing tasting, but not that functional towards your fitness goals. And I just need to get it across here, absolutely categorically, that that's an absolute fallacy. It's not the case, okay? We need to come away from this way of thinking that food can either be effective or food can be tasty. And in reality, the most effective nutrition plans are going to be the ones that people enjoy. Okay, what's the point of being on a nutrition plan that you absolutely detest? Even if it does get you fantastic results, even if it were hypothetically to be optimal, you're never going to stay on a nutrition protocol that you absolutely detest. So I think it comes from this idea that, we've all seen those kind of images and videos of archetypal bodybuilding diets where bodybuilders are consuming things like chicken, rice, protein shakes, fish, white fish, rice cakes, these sort of things, just big plates full of vegetables and chicken breast. Like, that's what we tend to associate with performance nutrition for physique competitors, bodybuilders and such like. And I think that's thrown off a lot of people over the years, particularly as a lot of these bodybuilding types, or not a lot, a few prominent names in the past have really been huge proponents of that style of eating and almost champion how boring the food is, almost as a measure of perhaps their discipline, which is fair enough, okay? But I just have to get this point across that they're not mutually exclusive. Food can be enjoyable and can be effective at the same time. So one thing you need to realize, guys, is there are certain things that matter with nutrition and certain things which, if you actually delve a little bit more deeply, you'll soon realize that what's governing those thoughts are usually some sort of vested interest, okay? Some sort of vested interest in kind of selling a methodology. The things that are important when it comes to nutrition, obviously, are that the profile of the food is suitable for the goal at hand, whether that's muscle gain or fat loss, whether the caloric intake is suitable for the individual to facilitate muscle gain or fat loss or strength gain or whatever, fitness gain. And then we need to look a bit more closely into the micronutrient profiles of foods. So rather than just worrying about calories and macros, we also got to then think about micronutrients. And this is perhaps where there's a little bit of confusion, okay? People would assume that the micronutrient profiles, so how many vitamins and minerals like cheap foods have, are going to be absolutely categorically terrible in comparison to the archetypal clean foods. The reality is, though, there are lots and lots of foods out there which could be ticketed as kind of cheap foods, which when you break down the profile of them are not too dissimilar to some of these championed clean foods. I guess what I want to get across is the most important thing is to remove any bias that any particular group of people have towards a specific food type and to actually look at what is the profile of a food. Then secondarily to that, you need to look at, okay, do I enjoy this food? Is this food going to be something that I can eat on an ongoing basis, or is this going to be majorly restrictive? And so the sweet spot is a diet which champions foods which are rich in the right macro and micronutrients, hits the right caloric needs, and is also enjoyable. And that is a huge scope of food, guys, okay? You might think that's like an almost unachievable, magical, minute blend of foods, but that covers a huge scope. And actually, variety is what's going to keep people on track and keep them enjoying their diet plans. I want to bring it back cleanly to a nice go-home point here, all right? The best nutrition plan is the one which serves the goal that you're after, but is also one that you enjoy and can thus stay on for prolonged periods of time. So in the nutrition plans that I build for my clients, I always give them 4 options for every single meal. And I actually make sure that it's within a cuisine that they enjoy, whether it's Indian food or Chinese food or English food or American traditional foods, like whatever it is, like the foods have to be enjoyable and they have to be diverse and there has to be options, okay? The best diet plan is one that feels like it's not even a diet plan, okay? Now, obviously, for particular athletes, for very specific outcomes like bodybuilding prep in those last few weeks, we have to be a little bit more precise and we may have to sacrifice a little bit of variety for the outcome that we're seeking. And that's only a very temporary outcome that we're seeking within something like a bodybuilding show. But on large, for general populations, the best nutrition plan is the one which is going to be most enjoyable, diverse, least restrictive, while still hitting your caloric demands, macronutrient demands, so your protein, carbs and fats, and micronutrients. So I'm going to be talking a bit more about food on my channel here for the next few days, just because I think it's one of those massively overlooked things, and it's one of those things that people do benefit from some education on. So stick around, guys, okay? In the next few days, I'm going to be talking more about nutrition. And if you've got any questions about nutrition, or if you believe that it is nutrition which is holding you back from actually attaining the body that you want, because let's be honest, guys, it is the majority contributor to building a physique, then you can always DM me. I always welcome a discussion about your training, about your food. I want to hear from you, okay? So if you've got any questions, you can also hit me up in the comments section. But thank you yet again for joining me, and we will catch up really soon. Cheers, guys.